4 years. That's how long I gave her my loyalty. 4 years of late nights chasing clients, closing million-dollar deals. 4 years of silence every time I asked for a raise. Maybe next quarter she'd say, eyes glued to papers she never read. My name is Jared. I was 29 when I joined Rainmark Consulting in Seattle. Fresh out of grad school, hungry, believing hard work mattered. My father worked 37 years at a plant in Ohio. He told me, stay loyal. They'll take care of you. I believed him. But loyalty doesn't mean much when your boss sees you as expendable. Her name was Denise. Sharp suits, cold eyes. Strategic was her favorite word. Strategic meant no. Strategic meant you're not worth it. I drove an old Corolla. She drove a company BMW. I brought in $12 million in revenue. She gave me coffee gift cards. I should have walked away sooner, but I stayed. I stayed until the day she fired me for daring to look elsewhere. That was her mistake, because firing me didn't just end my time at Rainmark, it ended hers. And if you've ever felt undervalued, betrayed, or silenced at work, stay with me. What happened next wasn't just revenge, it was justice. And before we begin, subscribe. Not because I asked, but because stories like this are stories you'll never forget. My name is Jared. I was born in a small town in Ohio, the son of a factory worker. My father spent 37 years at the same manufacturing plant. Day after day, he punched the same clock, walked the same floor, and came home smelling of grease and metal. And every night, he repeated the same lesson to me. Stay loyal, son. Work hard, and the company will take care of you. I believed him. I carried those words with me when I left Ohio for graduate school. 2 years later, degree in hand, I drove west to Seattle. I wanted a fresh start, a city full of glass towers and endless rain. That's where I joined Rainmark Consulting, my first real job. My chance to prove loyalty still meant something in corporate America. I was 29, hungry, determined, willing to work late nights, early mornings, whatever it took. I wasn't chasing a corner office. I wasn't chasing status. I just wanted to earn my place. And for a while, I thought I had. I closed deals. I built relationships. Clients trusted me. I believed loyalty would be rewarded. But looking back now, I see the truth. I wasn't building a career. I was building someone else's empire. And loyalty was about to cost me everything. Her name was Denise Callahan. She wasn't my first boss at Rainmark Consulting, but she was the one who changed everything. When I joined Rainmark, still felt human. The founder, Harrison Rainmark, walked the halls, shook hands, remembered birthdays. 6 months later, he sold the company to private equity. And that's when Denise arrived. She was 45, perfect suits, perfect posture, a voice sharp enough to cut glass, the kind of manager who could talk for 30 minutes and say nothing at all. Her favorite word, strategic. Strategic meant no. Strategic meant don't ask again. I remember my first one-on-one with her in her corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows, her BMW parked outside, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. She glanced at the numbers I'd pulled in, smiled thinly, and said, "We all need to be strategic about compensation." That was Denise. Every compliment came with a hook. Every promise came with a delay. While I was chasing clients, she was chasing promotions. And she got them. Titles, bonuses, a company car. Me, I was stuck with the same salary I'd started with. She built her empire on the backs of people like me. And she made sure we never forgot it. Cold eyes. A smirk that never reached her face. And every time she said strategic, a little part of me started to die inside. Rainmark Consulting sat on the 32nd floor of a glass tower in downtown Seattle. From the outside, it looked unstoppable, polished, powerful, untouchable, but inside it was rotting. The day Denise took control, everything shifted. Meetings stopped being about strategy and started being about optimization. She called people human capital. She spoke of right-sizing, words that meant one thing: cut costs, squeeze harder, give less. And while I worked 12-hour days chasing contracts and keeping clients loyal, I couldn't shake what I saw. Talented analysts left for better jobs. Veterans who built this firm walked out with cardboard boxes. The desk filled with fresh hires, cheaper, untrained, disposable. I stayed, not because I was blind, but because I believed loyalty mattered. Because my father's voice still echoed in my head. Stay loyal, son. The company will take care of you. But Denise didn't see loyalty as strength. She saw it as weakness. a chance to take more without ever giving back. She had her BMW in the garage, her bonuses, her titles, her corner office. I had my old Corolla, my frozen paycheck, and a gnawing truth I couldn't ignore. This wasn't a partnership. This was exploitation. And deep down, I knew loyalty wouldn't save me here. It would destroy me. The first time I asked for a raise, Denise smiled. "Let's revisit this next quarter," she said, flipping through papers she never read. I believed her. I worked harder, brought in bigger accounts, stayed late, skipped weekends. Next quarter came. Same smile, same words. Next quarter. It became her favorite phrase, not just to me, but to everyone. A script she repeated like clockwork, a way to keep us quiet, to keep us hoping. By my second year, I had closed the Peterson account, a deal worth millions. She shook my hand, told me I had potential for advancement. Potential. Another word that meant nothing. Quarter after quarter, the pattern repeated. I delivered results. She delivered excuses. Meanwhile, I watched her climb higher. New titles, a bigger office, a company car. And every time I passed her BMW in the garage, it felt like a reminder she was rising on promises she never kept, while I was stuck at the same paycheck I'd started with. I wanted to believe she'd come through. That hard work meant something. That loyalty still mattered. But every smile, every delay, every next quarter cut a little deeper. And somewhere inside, I felt something snap. Loyalty wasn't lifting me. It was chaining me down. Numbers don't lie. And mine told a story Denise refused to hear. By the end of my 4th year at Rainmark Consulting, I had generated over $10 million in revenue. $10 million. Enough to cover my salary for the next decade. My client retention rate, 96%. My performance reviews, flawless. And yet, my paycheck hadn't moved a single dollar since the day I started. Every time I pulled into the garage, my old Corolla sat in the shadow of Denise's company BMW. Every time I opened my bank app, the numbers reminded me I was living paycheck to paycheck while she cashed bonuses billed on my work. It wasn't just the money. It was the principle. I had done everything right, played by every rule, kept my head down, worked harder than anyone else. And the reward for my loyalty, silence. Excuses. The same recycled lie budget constraints. The truth was simple. I was being exploited. My value measured in millions. My worth reduced to scraps. I tried to swallow it, tried to tell myself things would change. But standing in that office, staring at quarterly reports I had carried on my back, I felt the weight of every lie, every next quarter pressing down. Denise wasn't just ignoring the numbers. She was erasing me. One by one, the good ones left. Analysts I respected. Colleagues who once stayed late with me, huddled over project binders, eating cold takeout at midnight. They started walking out with cardboard boxes, heading for firms that paid fairly, that valued their time. I watched 3 desks around me turn over in less than a year. Fresh graduates replaced veterans, cheaper, quieter, easier to control. The office atmosphere changed. It used to feel collaborative, people sharing ideas, challenging each other, pushing for the best outcome. Now it felt like survival. Ideas weren't shared. They were hoarded. Every meeting carried an undercurrent of fear. Every smile felt forced. Denise called it development opportunities when she handed big accounts to kids with 6 months experience. I called it what it was, exploitation. She was cutting costs on the backs of clients and expecting me to clean up the mess when things went wrong. And still I stayed because that's what loyalty meant to me. Because my father's words still echoed, "Stay loyal, son. The company will take care of you." But loyalty doesn't matter when you're surrounded by empty desks, when the friends who once had your back are gone, and all you can hear is the hum of fluorescent lights over rows of strangers. I wasn't just underpaid. I was abandoned. Not everyone bought into Denise's act. One afternoon, I was on a call with HarborTech, a mid-sized client I'd managed for nearly 2 years. Their CEO, Richard Hale, was sharp, direct, the kind of man who didn't waste words. After we wrapped up quarterly results I had carried on my back, he paused. His tone shifted. "Jared," he said quietly, "we trust you. More than her." I froze. He didn't say her name, but I knew who he meant. Denise. Richard continued, lowering his voice, as if the walls themselves were listening. "Service has slipped. Deadlines are shaky. But when you're on it, we know we're in good hands. Remember that." It wasn't a raise. It wasn't a promotion. But in that moment, It felt like something more important validation, proof that my work spoke louder than Denise's buzzwords. Still, I couldn't ignore the pit in my stomach. If HarborTech already saw cracks, how long before others did? How long before Denise's cost-cutting destroyed what I had built? I thanked Richard, hung up, and stared at my computer screen. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope, a reminder that I mattered even if my own boss pretended otherwise. But deep down, I also knew this. When clients start questioning leadership, it's only a matter of time before everything collapses. It happened on a Tuesday morning. I was buried in spreadsheets when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Jared Monroe, the voice asked. Yes, this is Marcus Weller, CEO of Northshore Analytics. Tyler Mitchell mentioned your name. I sat up straight. Tyler, my old college roommate. He jumped ship months earlier, landing at Northshore. Over beers, he told me they were different. Fair pay, real equity, leadership that listened. It had sounded too good to be true. But now Marcus Weller himself was on the line. I've been following your work with HarborTech, he said. Impressive numbers, high retention. We're expanding and we need someone with your background. Would you be interested in a conversation? My heart raced. For 4 years, Denise had made me feel invisible. One call and here was a CEO saying my work mattered. I'd be interested, I answered, keeping my voice steady though my hands were shaking. Good, Marcus said. How about Thursday, 2 o'clock? I hung up, staring at the phone in disbelief. For the first time in years, I felt something Denise had stolen from me excitement. That single call cracked the walls that had been closing in. And for the first time, I let myself imagine a future beyond Rainmark. Thursday came gray skies hanging low over Seattle. I told the receptionist at Rainmark I had a doctor's appointment, then drove across town to Northshore's headquarters. The moment I walked in, it felt different. Natural light poured through wide windows, modern furniture, real coffee, not the burnt vending machine sludge back at Rainmark. People greeted each other in the halls with genuine smiles, not forced ones. Marcus Weller met me in the lobby himself. No assistant, no HR buffer, just a firm handshake and a direct look in the eye. We sat down in a glass-walled conference room. For 2 hours, he asked about strategy, client relationships, problem solving. He actually listened. He didn't check his phone once. He cared about the answers. Finally, he leaned forward. The position comes with a 30% salary increase, he said, plus performance bonuses tied to actual revenue, equity after 6 months, and a professional development budget of $5,000 a year. I blinked. In one conversation, Marcus had offered me more career advancement than Denise had in 4 years. Walking out of that building, I barely recognized myself. My shoulders felt lighter, my steps quicker. For the first time since Ohio, I believed hard work might actually pay off. Northshore wasn't just another company. It was proof that I wasn't the problem. Rainmark was. Monday morning, Seattle rain tapped against the office windows as I walked into Denise's corner office. In my hand, a folder salary surveys industry benchmarks proof that I was earning 23% below market rate. Denise. I began keeping my voice steady. I've been here 4 years. My clients bring in millions. I need us to discuss compensation. She leaned back, sipping her coffee, like I'd interrupted something far more important. We covered this last month. The budget hasn't changed. I opened the folder, sliding the papers across her desk. Market data says otherwise. Senior consultants with my track record are being paid fairly elsewhere. Her eyes flicked over the numbers, then back to me, a smirk tugging at her lips. Market rates are inflated. Companies overpay to attract talent. It's not sustainable. We prefer stability. Stability. That word hit like a slap. Stability meant underpaying people too loyal or too scared to leave. Denise, I said, my voice tightening. The Peterson account alone covers my salary 3 times over. I'm not asking for charity. I'm asking for fairness. Her smirk sharpened into something colder. Maybe the issue isn't compensation, Jared. Maybe the issue is whether your expectations fit this company's culture. The air went still. That wasn't negotiation. That was dismissal wrapped in corporate politeness. In that moment, staring at her across polished wood and glass, I realized this wasn't a conversation about numbers. It was a test of power, and I already knew how she wanted it to end. By Thursday, I had made my decision. Northshore had given me everything Denise never would: respect, recognition, a future. I typed up my resignation letter, printed it on Rainmark letterhead, folded it neatly, and slipped it into my bag. But Denise got there first. "Jared, can you step into my office?" Kelly's voice over the intercom was tight formal. Too formal. I walked in, a letter in hand, ready to end things on my terms. Denise was waiting, a folder open in front of her, her expression carefully arranged. "I've been reviewing your recent activity." She began, her tone sugar-coated but sharp underneath. "It's come to my attention that you've been exploring other opportunities." The words landed like ice water. Someone had talked, or maybe she had simply put the pieces together. "I'm not accusing you of anything," she continued, though her smile said otherwise, "but I think we need to question your loyalty and whether this company can continue to trust you." I placed the resignation letter on her desk. "You don't have to. I've already accepted a position at Northshore." Her face shifted, surprise, anger, then something colder. Calculation. "In that case, we'll expedite your departure. Today will be your last day." It wasn't enough to let me go. She wanted control of the narrative, wanted me escorted out like a criminal. As Kelly watched me pack a cardboard box with 4 years of my life, a mug, a plant, a stack of files, I felt the sting of betrayal burn deeper than any denial of a raise ever had. I hadn't just been underpaid. I had been discarded. I thought it was over when I walked out with that cardboard box, but Denise wasn't finished. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was Marcus Weller. His tone was calm, but the words cut deep. "Jared, Denise Callahan called me directly. She raised concerns about your professionalism, suggested you might share confidential information. Can you explain?" My chest tightened. Of course she had. Denise couldn't stop me from leaving, so she was trying to poison the well. If she couldn't own my loyalty, she'd ruin my reputation. I pictured her in that corner office, rehearsing every lie with the same calm smile she used to deny my raises. To her, this wasn't personal, it was strategy. Destroy me before I could prove myself anywhere else. For a moment, panic clawed at me. What if Marcus believed her? What if everything I'd built, everything Northshore had offered, vanished before it began? But then I steadied myself. "Marcus," I said, voice firm, "every number I've ever produced speaks louder than Denise's words. My record is clean. My integrity is not for sale." Silence hung on the line. I could hear my own pulse. Finally, Marcus exhaled. Good, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I hung up, anger and relief battling inside me. Denise hadn't just pushed me out. She'd tried to erase me, but her game wasn't over, and neither was mine. 6 weeks into my new role at Northshore, Marcus called me into his office. His tone was calm, but I could see the spark in his eyes. HarborTech reached out, he said, sliding a folder across his desk. "They're done with Rainmark. Service has collapsed since you left, and they specifically asked for you." I opened the folder. Emails from a Richard Hale, HarborTech's CEO. Missed deadlines, poor communication, complaints about a junior consultant Denise had thrown on the account. Now HarborTech wanted more than a renewal. They wanted a full strategic package market. Analysis, digital transformation, efficiency review. The contract, $6.8 million over 3 years. I felt my throat tighten. The very account I built, the one Denise used to hold over me, was walking out of her hands and straight into mine. A week later, I stood in HarborTech's boardroom presenting the plan. Sunlight poured through the tall windows as Richard looked across the table. "We trust you, Jared. Let's move forward." The pens hit paper. The deal was done. By Monday, the Portland Business Journal broke the story. HarborTech abandons Rainmark Sign's record deal with Northshore. Industry chatter spread fast. Within weeks, Rainmark bled more clients. By the next quarter, Denise's position was eliminated in a strategic realignment. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just sat at my desk, sipping coffee, letting the quiet truth settle in. She tried to erase me, but in the end, it was her empire that vanished. Spring arrived in Seattle. The rain lifted and sunlight cut through the glass towers downtown. I sat at my desk at Northshore, a fresh cup of coffee in hand, reviewing projections for HarborTech's expansion, the very client Denise once dangled over me like a leash. Sometimes I think back to Ohio, to the factory floor where my father spent nearly 4 decades. He believed loyalty was everything, and maybe once it was. But I learned the hard way that loyalty without respect is just another word for chains. Rainmark never valued me. Denise never saw me. 4 years of sacrifice brushed aside like I was disposable, and yet her empire crumbled because she forgot the simplest truth: people remember who treats them right. Clients remember. Employees remember. Now, I don't measure success in titles or corner offices. I measure it in trust, in partnerships that last because both sides invest, both sides respect. I didn't cheer when Denise lost her position. I didn't need to. Actions have consequences. She wrote her own ending. And me, I'm finally living mine. If you've ever worked under someone like Denise, you know the feeling. The late nights that go unnoticed, the sacrifices that are dismissed as part of the job, the endless promises of next quarter. It wears you down. It makes you doubt yourself. And worst of all, it convinces you that loyalty is weakness. But here's the truth I had to learn the hard way. Loyalty isn't weakness. It's strength when it's given to the right people, to leaders who respect it, to companies that honor it, to clients who trust it. I lost 4 years believing Denise would see my value. But the day HarborTech signed with Northshore, I realized something powerful: value doesn't disappear just because one boss refuses to acknowledge it. Sometimes the revenge isn't in shouting or fighting or slamming doors. Sometimes it's in walking away and watching their empire collapse under the weight of their own arrogance. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're still there. If my story hit close to home, you're not alone, and you deserve better. This was my story of betrayal and quiet revenge, but there are countless others. Stories of people like you who endured, who fought back, who found justice in unexpected ways. If you want to hear more stories like this, real lives, real revenge, make sure you subscribe, because sometimes the best justice is simply letting the story be told.